Hi, this is Andreas from Vizlab Studios here. So today I'm going to present my first part of a vlog series about the new Artstation challenge. My thought is that by sharing my ideas and how I approach sketching, I can share with you guys how I would tackle such a project. And this is going to be like an ongoing thing. I'm participating all the way in this challenge, meaning that I'll be hopefully uploading a new vlog every week, every time I take a new major step in this process. So hopefully I'll be able to share with you guys how I break this project down into each of the steps that needs to be taken. So just briefly about me, I'm a concept artist from this place called Vizlab Studios. You can check it out at vizlabstudios.com. I've been working with concepting for a couple of years now. So I find these challenges to be really, really good because this is my chance to sort of run through the pipeline that I know and improve stuff, experiment, be better at certain stuff, and then most of all just connect with a lot of people and get feedback from a lot of people. That's really, really valuable. So I always enjoy these challenges and like trying to push myself to do something new. So my first thing here is that I will just run through this. Let me just find it. So the first thing with this challenge, I will just quickly show you. Find this one. So of course the first thing with this challenge is that you get the brief. I'll just go through the steps that I've taken in the beginning here. So of course the first thing is I've read the brief. So this is really, really important. Read the brief, understand everything that they are saying to you. Read all these points that the ideas could include. And then of course, really, really important, know what it is that you have to deliver at the end. So here it says 2 high resolution completed environment designs. This means that you have 2 designs that you need to finish plus 2 call out sheets. So this really determines the later process, like what is it that you're going to focus on, how much, in a sense, how much time do you have to tell your story in. This means that time is, in a sense, you have 2 images to tell your complete story in. So this dictates the rest of the process. So with this brief, I read it carefully, and then of course I go to submissions and put myself in the competition. The second thing I do right after that is that I start doing this. I write down a lot of notes, I write down a lot of ideas. So King Arthur, like headline, and then everything that comes to my mind, and what of course I look up on Wikipedia, I Google a lot of the stuff because I know maybe the Disney version of it, but I don't know the depth of this tale of King Arthur. So I've been looking at a lot of the old stories, meaning that I don't go into the total depth because it would be too much for something like this. So I try to strike some sort of balance between the popular culture version of a thing versus the real depth of it. So I'm trying to like put myself a little bit in between, mostly a little bit towards the popular culture version of it, because it needs to have like a broad appeal. If you're going too specific because you really want to stay true to a story, then you might risk to lose some audience. So it's important to stay somewhere in between if you want to have a broad appeal. So here I just wrote down some keywords that came into my mind: Sword in the Stone, Camelot, Holy Grail, The Lady in the Lake, I think I wrote Lady in the Water, Merlin, Avalon, Saxons, Sir Lancelot, and Knights of the Round Table. These are my like initial thoughts. So this will start to already here spring some ideas into my mind. So I already have this idea like, oh yeah, what if I do the Castle Camelot? I can do an exterior and interior shot, meaning I can examine this environment both inside and outside and make like a coherent design. It could be really, really fun. So this is the first thing. These are my ideas, and then from there I will take it on that, like, what is it that I actually want to show? So I'll just write it down. I want to show Arthur, the Castle Camelot, the Grail, the Knights of the Round Table, and Excalibur. These are my initial thoughts. I might leave out some of the stuff. So I just say I want a hero shot outside of the castle, and I want a shot of the inside of the castle, so that these two can be really nice because they will probably be seen together. So I have like a grand vista from the outside and a more closed off interior. I think they will be complementing each other really, really nicely. If you had 2 exterior shots, they might get a little bit boring, so it's nice to have these balancing out each other. So the first thing, of course, I do is just to like let my brain loose a little bit. So I start sketching, and this is just from the top of my head. So I sketch after the first ideas, and it's just basically based on nothing. I start sketching. When this is done, when I like feel that I've explored what I had in my head already, then it's time for me, of course, to gather some more research. So here I already researched a bit, but I was just reading up on stuff. So now I'll start to gather some visual material. So what I have here is this little program called PureRef, which is great. I have recommended it many times before, and I keep on recommending it because it's awesome. Because here you can just collect all these boards. So what I've done here is that I've collected a little bit of environment up here, like real castle stuff, more cultural stuff, and some movie stuff, and some other reference from Artstation of artists that I really enjoy, like the Steven and Sana, and like I can't really remember, but he does awesome stuff. And this is my starting point, visually starting point. I try to minimize the influence from cultural and meaning that stuff that has been made to be shown like a concept or as a film, because that means I will be influenced by somebody else's vision right from the beginning. Of course, this is somebody else's vision, but it's more real to like it sticks to the real deal. So I try to be influenced mostly by this stuff, and of course this, like the environments up here, and then of course I look at this stuff also, because I mean it is really really bloody awesome, so it's really difficult to not look at it. So I usually keep this PureRef board on my secondary monitor, so I always can look over and see what I have. So for these sketches I didn't look at anything, I just like drew from the top of my head, but then I start to try to look a little bit more at references I have on my board, and trying to bring in some landscapes just to see how these sketches would translate into some real landscape. These are really really quickly done as well. I think it's down to like 5 minutes a piece. So again, it's just really nice to get something done really really fast. And it's just a little bit of like finally some exploration of the interior, because the interior also determines how the exterior looks on the castle. So it's important to also start to look a little bit into this. These are my really really crude sketches, but these are like visually brainstorming ideas in a unorganized manner, but it's just on top of my head, what do I need to think of, because later I'll be taking all this into 3D, so I really need to know what is it that I need to build. So let's just go to this, because this, as I just said, is based on 3D. So these notes and all these ideas and thoughts here is what sorry, is what I need to before I can start building this. So I am a strong advocate of using 3D in production, because for me this really it liberates me in designing. So I mean I can start with this one, and then it sort of like mutates into this one, and it mutates into this one. So I can make many versions out of the same building blocks, so I can get some really interesting designs going really quickly. So I try to balance between like the strength of using 2D to like quickly draw out landscape, and then the strength of using 3D to quickly knock out some shapes, because here I can then quickly say, do I want the camera here? Do I want the camera here? I can easily take this into Photoshop and then paint on top of that. So this is exactly what I've done here in this one. I've just basically screenshotted it into some frames, and then started to paint on top of it. So this gave me some starting points for inspiration here, because here are some interesting thoughts going on, because I'm thinking, is this landscape somewhere, and this is why I've brought this in later, is it a barren like highlands where there's not much growing, or is it more like this, like a lush lowlands where there's trees and there's fields and stuff like that? Because that points into also functionality of this castle, because this is Castle Camelot, so I believe that there is like a city connected to this castle, because they also need food, they need somebody needs to take care of the horses, so like all these things that you need to do with a castle, you'll always see cities connected to them, because they need a lot of stuff in a castle. So I started out with these two, because that was my initial thought of this more barren wasteland, and then it sort of mutated into this small city here, and then I thought it could be really nice to incorporate a bit of story, like this guy riding towards this castle, and then put some more compositional elements into it, so have a little bit of foreground. And here again we have the foreground element and then the background element. So in this way it was really easy for me to use the 3D elements and just copy and paste it in into this frame. So I can quickly show you how I would go about making one of these, just as a last example. So in this shot here, I just have these, they're basically very basic elements. But from basic elements, you can quickly start to alter them and modify, and you get you get really easily some interesting shapes. And this is what I've done here, because this is just a collection of these super basic elements. But as you can see, it's just basically boxes. But already here they start to give a really nice design. So you can just almost like without doing any work, you start to get these really nice and interesting designs. So from here, if I had this one, I'll just basically take a screenshot like this, go into Photoshop, new layer, put it on top, and then I'll just make a layer below this one and just get rid of this. And then we're ready to go already here. So this, for me, this is a good combination. Like it takes the best of both worlds, like from 2D, like to quickly sketch something out, and 3D to get these shapes in really fast. So here we have like more of an aerial shot, like a shot from above. Like how would this look if it was inside the landscape? So I can start to like sketch out the landscape, and maybe let's say that this is not enough. I can just start to expand it as well inside Photoshop. So I can start to build it out like this. And let me just get some of these values, because if we get these values going, you can see that it's really easy to, I knock in a value like this, and it already looks like there's shapes going on. And it's a really simple way to, in a sense, trick the brain to see more than there actually is. So this is a great way to just get started. And then you can, of course, just, if it's a sprawling city, you just start to expand it out. And then at some point, like, you need to decide, like, how much 3D do you need, like, versus how fast can you just do it in Photoshop? Because again, this should be idea generation. It shouldn't be like, you shouldn't limit yourself too much. I'm seeing that my perspective is completely wonky, so I'll just go in and knock this out here. Anyway, so this is just like an example of like how I did these below. So you can try it out yourself. You'll find that it's a really good process to idea generate, and you'll be able to really fast to produce some material. I can only recommend this. I can really recommend this way of doing stuff. So from here, these are my sketches. Like, these will generate ideas. They will answer questions. They will make me think of like how the whole world is, to create like a holistic world where everything feels coherent. And from here, I'll take the sketches more in a finalized direction, and then at some point I'll choose one of the sketches and take it to a finished level. So hope that you'll stay tuned for the next parts as well. I will try to also shoot a video really soon again, showing my next step in this process. So I hope that you find this interesting, and hope to see you again soon. See you guys.